and it's early in the morning. I just turned the lights on. But I was just scrolling up through YouTube, and I saw a this guy that works on animals, and he was like, you know, so they were doing like, it was like a preview for his show or whatever, and he was doing you know, he was working on animals like horses and rabbits and all kinds of stuff, but like out in barns and stuff, like, but he had a face mask on. And I just wanted to touch on that because, man, that just is like the dissonance that creates in my head is just unbelievable. When I see someone with a face mask on, and then especially when I see someone with a face mask on out in the middle of, you know, nowhere. I mean, the dissonance it creates is nuts, you know? And people may be like, well, why do you let that affect you? You know, why? I don't know. It bothers me terribly. It really fucks my head up bad seeing people with masks on. One thing, and the other thing it touched off in my head was when this mask thing started and everybody just threw masks on, there were people like my daughter who, when all these supposed, you know, okay, you can take your mask off now, it's fine. I'm not even going to call them masks. I'm going to call them muzzles, because that's what they are. They're muzzles. A mask goes over your face. A muzzle goes over your mouth. So we'll call it muzzle. We'll call it what it is. It's a muzzle. They were trying to shut you up. They put a muzzle on you. But anyway, so an introvert, like my daughter is an introvert, right? She doesn't like being outside. She doesn't like being seen. She doesn't like attention. So for people like her, this mask thing was perfect. When they put this muzzle over everybody, my daughter loved it because she could hide in public, you know? So even when these stupid muzzle mandates were lifted, she still wore hers. You know, and we would give her shit, you know, we'd be like, Sammy, come on. But I didn't give her too much shit because I knew, you know, I knew there was something else, something deeper going on, you know. She was hurting and she was hiding behind a mask. And I guess I mentioned that because, you know, a lot of these people that are perpetuating this mask thing, this muscle thing, are just perpetuating out of their own fear in the fact that wearing a muzzle made them feel safer just because how sick society is. And again, just unwrapping the whole fucking mess, you know. I was watching a cooking show the other day. I was getting a recipe off this guy's cooking show, man. This guy does some awesome, like, really down-to-earth, easy recipes and stuff. And, man, he put in his comments about wearing a mask, and then, like, one of his listeners said, you know, well, dude, you know, I love your recipe, but I'm gonna listen to everything you say except for wearing a mask. And then, man, he put in the most nastiest, dirtiest comment under this guy, man, saying, you're killing people, you're responsible for deaths. And I just couldn't believe it. And then under that, hundreds of his people left comments like, dude, you're off the rails, you're unhinged, what's wrong with you? I mean, I had to leave a comment, you know, and all it is, you know, it's not being a keyboard warrior. It's just if you're going to tread somewhere, if you're going to put your attention and energy somewhere, to not leave things unturned, you know, to not leave things undone. So if it takes you 2 seconds, 2 minutes to write up a a thing. That's how I see it anyways. I'm just getting some thoughts out of my head. But again, the dissonance that creates, for me, seeing people with masks on, you know, with YouTube channels with masks on, out in the out in the middle of nowhere working on animals, you know, on a farm with a muzzle on. That is about the dumbest thing. I mean, like, what do you, when I see that, I'm like, what are you trying to say? You know, what are you trying to say? That is just so weird, guys. That is just so weird. Like, you're wearing a mask in nature. And it just messes my head up because, like, there's got to be a reason you're doing it. And I mean, like, with my daughter, I can understand, you know, she's an introvert. She's hiding. You know, for these other weirdos who are out there doing the same thing my daughter's doing, I guess they're introverted, I would hope. I hope people aren't actually, you know, so ignorant and so into groupthink that they think that these masks are in any way, shape, or form preventing these tiny particles. I mean, it's just, you know, I know this video is probably out there, man, but this is what fucks me up, man. This really fucks me up bad. Like, my brain, like, goes, you know, and I just had to put it out there because I hope you guys, like, if things like this affect you, you know, where you see in society and you're just like, you know, and it creates this, you know, and it creates that in your head. You know, just don't be afraid to say it, you know. It's not just you. It's every other normal thinking, critically thinking person out there. And again, I'm not saying, you know, just because someone wants to do something to be mean to them. I'm saying, you know, like in my daughter's instance, it's because it's a coping mechanism, you know. But what I am saying is we need to question, especially adults especially people who are running a YouTube channel that are supposedly influencing people's behaviors, and they're doing things that don't make sense, you know, and people don't question it. And they just go, okay, you're out in nature in the country in a barn working on a horse with a mask on. Oh, what the fuck are you doing? But anyways, just my 2 cents. I had to get it out there. I'm not hating on anybody. I'm just letting you know that these things create cognitive dissonance. They create problems with your brain, you know. Especially when you're doing something like wearing a mask, which makes no sense, makes no common sense. And, you know, the powers that be are trying to enforce that mask, that muzzle wearing. So, you know, it really makes you wonder. Unless, and like I said, unless you're someone like my daughter, you know, who is introverted, and those types of things actually help them cope out in the real world, you know. Just my thoughts.